Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. My name is Tre Tailor, and Attorney Eddye Lane with Lane Law joins us again. Eddye, thank you so much for coming back. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We've had some updates, so I think it's very important
Yes.
for us to get some information out there.
It certainly is, Eddie, because Judge Beatty just gave some grace to those folks who may be going through foreclosure. Tell us about that first.
That's right. Earlier this year, he did enter an order stopping all foreclosures and evictions until May 1st. So, of
Mm-hmm.
course, May 1st came and we're in the same position that we were at the very beginning of this pandemic. So, he is some grace until May 15th, but after that, foreclosures and evictions can proceed. So, um, it's more than it's better than nothing, but still, what are those folks going to do on May 16th? There are some things out there that they can do, but for right now, if you are subject to foreclosure or eviction, you are protected until May 15th. Then the court clerks are instructed that they can accept documents from landlords, etc., to go ahead and proceed with foreclosure and for evictions and
Okay.
foreclosure from lawyers.
So on May 16th, if and when, unless Judge Beatty does something else, and landlords, lords, and mortgage companies start bringing in or submitting claims, what is the process after that? What should the consumer know? I mean, should they just pack up on the 16th and get to going, or what?
No.
What?
No, they should stay put. And they should stay
Okay.
put for right then. Well, what they have also too is possibly another layer of protection because you have the CARES Act. So
Okay.
Judge Beatty is the Supreme Court Justice for South Carolina. So people understand this is not May 15th all over the country. I understand you have a wide viewing
Yes.
audience.
Yes.
So um, the CARES Act is federal law, and this is was signed into law March 25th, somewhere in that neighborhood. And so it does provide certain protections for people who are tenants in multifamily properties, also people who are in it who have a mortgage that's what they call federally backed. Okay, so
Okay.
federally backed is your FHA, your Freddie Mac, and Fannie Mae. So you can go to those particular websites and do a lookup to see if your property is part of that. So for
Okay.
the so for the multifamily folks, now this applies to I would say apartment complexes. If you have more than 5 units, they fall under the CARES Act. They are not allowed to evict um, during. They have people can request. I'll put like this first. Start off. You can request a 30-day forbearance from rent. Excuse me, 1 second.
Okay.
I do not have COVID.
Well, we're so listening if you do.
Okay. So, but they have to make a request to the landlord, say, "Hey, I like 30 days, protection because of non-payment." However, the rule for that one is you have to have been current February, so you can't be the chronic person who has not paid. So hey, beginning March or April or May, etc. I need 30 days, so you can request it up to 90 days, but you have to do it in 30-day increments.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah. So 15 days before your 30 days runs out, if you granted it, then you can request, you have to request your other 30 days. These are for tenants. These are not the homeowners for foreclosure.
Right,
Okay.
tenants.
Right. So first thing you want to know is this landlord, this apartment complex or whoever owns this complex, is their loan, because trust me, these are not paid for, most of them, is that loan federally backed? They can find it up and look it up on those particular sites to see, and they are under the CARES Act. So just want to keep your ear to the ground and find out what your rights are. So you don't necessarily have to pack up on May 16th. Under state law, every state has different eviction laws. Here, even once the CARES Act time might expire, still have to give the tenant 30 days notice that they're proceeding with eviction. So pretty much is maybe up to 150 days of protection.
Okay.
So they need to inquire specifically about their particular address, their situation, and they can contact South Carolina Legal Services if they qualify for their services. That's an agency here that provides free legal services.
Okay. All right. So Eddye Lane with Lane Law has joined us on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. So Eddie, just to kind of summarize what you said, if someone is a renter in an apartment complex, as you said,
Right.
on the 16th, their landlord has the right now, unless something changes, to file for eviction or refile for eviction. But the tenant should first find out if that apartment complex is under Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. That's the first thing, right?
That's exactly right.
And
That's
and
right.
they can just Google that.
They can Google that. They can go to the FHA or the VA or the Freddie Mac, all of those sites, and they have a lookup tool on there, so you can put in an address to see. So you want to put the first find out. A lot of people don't know who owns their property
Mm-hmm.
because you have sometimes these big these big owner companies who have different types of property. So you want to know who is the owner of that property, but put the address in, and that'll get you there.
Okay. And then from there, if then they are protected under the CARES Act, which means they can then request an extension or request additional grace from their renter.
The landlord. That's
The
correct, and then
landlord,
they
yeah.
have to, and it has to be COVID
Related.
related for the non-payment. Yes.
Okay. And
For
then
that one.
according to you, you said they can get up to 5 months grace period, 5 month grace period.
That is correct. That's what that
Yeah.
can be. Well, for the in one section it's a lot. This thing is 400 pages just about. But pretty much yes, you start out with the 30 days for the tenant for the multifamily.
And you just keep asking for 30 additional days, and you've got five times 30 days.
Five times 30 days, pretty much. So yeah.
Yeah, to do that. The SE Legal Services, the website is in the comments, and also your website is in the comments. Thank you, Miss Moses. You're a paralegal. Is she
Okay.
a paralegal?
Always on top of it.
Okay, so thank you so much. So Eddie, so that's for the person that is renting. What about for someone who has a mortgage?
Same thing, almost. Since
Okay.
they're not renting, they can ask for a forbearance for up to 90 days. The CARES Act says if you're federally backed, hey, you cannot foreclose against these folks. You can't start the action. You can't continue the action. So they have protection, but they need to request a forbearance from their mortgage company.
Okay.
If it's federally backed, they have protection, but they just need to request the forbearance. 90
Now,
days.
Now, while the forbearance is going on, whether it be for a homeowner or a renter,
Mhm.
no rent is required. I mean, like if you have it, should you give a little bit or give what you have? I know sometimes with mortgage companies, they say give us all or nothing.
Right. Well, forbearance is just what it says. Forbear is not forgiven. So
Right.
you still owe it. Okay. So it's just they cannot do anything till you do in that period, nor can they charge you late fees that are related to
Oh, okay.
non-payment rent. So there's no late fees running, any type of fees that might be related to the non-payment. They cannot
Mhm.
charge that at all.
So would you suggest though that if someone is able to pay something, they pay something on their bills, and we're talking about your mortgage or your rent right now?
Absolutely. I always say pay for where you stay,
Yeah.
and do that because it's hard to get up out of that hole at the end. And honestly, I'm not sure what will happen with that 90-day or that 120-day money that's backed up. I don't know yet whether they're going to put it on the back end, whether they want to spread it out, but it's still owed.
Right.
So it might be something I might need to investigate, but I haven't heard what happens to it at the end.
Do you think that people, mortgage companies and landlords look at it as good faith? You're doing what you can do. I would think they look at them favorably. Would you?
Well, it's always good to keep your favor, because
Yeah.
especially if something happens later and you don't have that legal protection, you say, hey, you know what, when I didn't have to, I did. And I'm
Right.
working hard. And so you might get a little grace.
Yeah. Attorney Eddye Lane is with us. She's with Lane Law. She does consumer law, disability, and personal injury here in Columbia, South Carolina. Check out the comments for her website here on Coping with COVID. All right. So, Eddie, What happens after, I mean, can you stop a foreclosure? I think I'd really like to know that. Can you stop a foreclosure? If someone right now is in foreclosure, what
Well,
can they do?
well, if they're in foreclosure and they do not have the protection of the CARES Act, uh, there's bankruptcy. A lot of people think it's a bad word, but it's actually federal law to help people keep their property. So filing a bankruptcy does stop foreclosure immediately.
It
Uh,
stops all bills, though. Is that correct?
well, it when you do reorganize under bankruptcy, you can't pick and choose who goes in, who stays out. So all your bills have to go in, all of your
Okay.
sort of outstanding bills, if you will.
Okay. All right. So what does that look like? What does bankruptcy look like? Because you're right. I think some people look at bankruptcy as a bad word, but so many people that have a lot of money, just to be quite frank with you, and businesses file bankruptcy all the time,
All the
reorganize,
time.
and then start back fresh, anew.
Well, but excuse me one second.
Yeah. We're talking to Eddie Lane
I'm
with
back.
Lane. Okay.
Okay. All right. Bankruptcy. Well, I deal with two main chapters. It's four chapters, four main chapters, if you will. Chapter 7, a lot of people use that when they just need to get a fresh start. So some people feel distressed from being able to pay the mortgage, pay their rent because they have so many other bills. I always tell them still don't pay those other bills. Pay for your rent, pay for your mortgage first, and you can deal with those other things later. But some people get sidetracked because sometimes they have very aggressive creditors who are saying, we're going to come out, we're going to file a lawsuit and do this. And so they'll take that money and pay. And in the chapter 7 helps to alleviate a lot of what we call unsecured debt. That's credit card bills, medical bills. A lot of people file because they might have some catastrophic illness, medical bills are through the roof, and they feel an obligation to pay. And so therefore they feel like, well, I'm going to juggle my house note or juggle my rent so I can get this paid. But if they can alleviate all of that unsecured debt, have it gone, wiped out to zero, then they can focus on the secured debt, which might be the car, the home, et cetera, things like that. Now you have to qualify for it. So if you're driving a Lamborghini, don't come looking to file chapter 7, okay? But also
Or it
there's
could be an old Lamborghini,
it could be an old
Edie.
Lamborghini. Okay. If it's an old Lamborghini, okay. Okay, but
So that's chapter 7. That's chapter
that's chapter
7.
7. That's called liquidation, bankruptcy. And you have to qualify. There's a formula. We plug in your income and assets and things like that, and it says whether you qualify. And that saves your credit record for 10 years. The whole case is over in about 6 months most of the time. Chapter 13 is
Well, okay, let's go back to chapter 7. So
okay.
does that do what? Does that alleviate all your debt, or does that put it in a fund or whatever so you can manage your debt? Does that mean all your debt is lumped into one lump sum and then you're paying on it, or it's gone? What does that mean?
That's the 13. Now,
Okay.
for the 7, let me be clear. It does not wipe out your mortgage debt. It does not wipe out your car debt. If there are secured things, so what I said was it wipes out your
unsecured debt. Right. Okay.
Now, if you want to give the house up or give the car up and walk away, then the 7 might be something for you. But generally, when you go into the 7 and you're wanting to wipe out that other debt, you do need to be up to date on those secured items.
Okay. All right.
So what you were talking about, I think, is in chapter 13.
Okay. I was just trying to kind of, give people, okay, this is 7. Now 13 is the next one because you said there were 4.
Right. So let's say 7 is your wipeout.
Okay.
13 is the reorganization. I want to keep my stuff and I just need to get reorganized. Okay.
Gotcha.
So the 13 is like a consolidation. A lot of people might hear about consolidation plans where they're going to put all their money, one monthly payment, just take care of everything. So it's similar to that, but it's through the court. You get immediate protection. So there's a foreclosure sale or a hearing or whatever. Whenever that bankruptcy is filed, that foreclosure process stops.
Okay.
I call it magic sometimes. Okay. So yeah.
So bankruptcy chapter 13 is one of those things that stops the foreclosure.
It stops the foreclosure. Now you also have to qualify for that too, because you have to show in a budget that you can afford.
You can afford everything. Yeah.
Because you're reorganizing. You may not have to pay everything in 100%. You may have a great reduction of your unsecured debt.
Okay.
I've had folks who pay 1 cent on the dollar on their unsecured debt. So that helps them monthly, but they don't have to pay everything at 100%. And they can be in the plan for up to 5 years to sort of get things reworked. But it does stop foreclosure.
So 13, it's a 5 year.
It could be
Now
3 to 5. Yes.
3 to 5. So Eddie, let me ask you this: who determines, as far as that unsecured debt, how much you pay on it?
Well, the attorney does an analysis. We look at
Okay.
it to see, because every case is different. So I always tell people, don't talk to your friends about their bankruptcy, because you don't have the same debt, you don't have the same income, you don't have the same
Yeah.
situation. So everybody gets their own analysis. So there is state law, though, that guides us to say how much you have in what we call exempt property. Love South Carolina exemptions because, and this, so sort of think about this, like if you have too much stuff, you may pay 100% to your unsecured creditors. If you
Mm.
don't have too much stuff, you may pay a much smaller amount. You might pay 1 cent on the dollar, you might pay 10 cents, 50 cents, whatever. But we have to take a look at your particular situation. So in South Carolina, the first four homeowners, it's about $61,000 exempt. So if you have $61,000 of equity in your home, they don't count that against you.
Mm.
There's a certain amount of household goods you can have, a certain, car, uh, medical assistance, RAs, investments for, well, I won't call investments, but your pensions and your retirement is exempt. VA disability is exempt. So even if you have that money, they don't count it against you when we're trying to figure out how much you should pay to your unsecured creditors. So each case is different.
Okay. All right. So that's 7. We talked about 13. What are the other two bankruptcies
Well,
that people can
well,
file?
11's for corporations, and the 12's for farmers.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's a chapter 9 for municipalities, cities, and hospitals, things like that. So
Right. Mary Arrington has joined us. Mary says real estate closings question mark. I don't know what the question is. What's the question, Mary? She just said real estate closings question mark. Mary, can you tell us what exactly the question is? We're talking to Eddye Lane with Lane Law in Columbia, South Carolina. She specializes on personal injury cases, consumer law, and disabilities. We've been talking about how to, first of all, stop foreclosure if you're heading into foreclosure, and what you can do. That's okay, Mary. She says sorry. Just explain us. Let's explain the question, and what you can do if you're having difficulty paying your rent in the midst of COVID-19. So she said, do you handle real estate closings?
I do not, but certainly give me a call and we'll get you to somebody who'll take care of you.
Okay. All right, Mary. Go to EddyeLaneLaw.com. The website is in the comments, and Eddie will certainly take care of you and point you in the right direction. Thank you so much for watching Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Eddye Lane has joined us. So, Eddie, what other updates can you provide with us concerning not only COVID, but people in crisis, people in financial crisis? Because there may be someone that was in some financial crisis before COVID and
Right.
someone afterwards that, it's just going to be another something that happens. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
what's a good rule of thumb for folks who are going into a financial crisis?
I would say a good rule of thumb is to communicate with your creditor,
Mm-hmm.
especially your mortgage company. Oftentimes, you call the mortgage company and everybody's name is Larry or Sue, and you really don't know who you're really talking to. But you document what, your contacts. And I would say put something in writing. Contact the loss mitigation department of your mortgage company. A lot of people have never heard of that department, but it's loss
Mm-hmm.
mitigation, LOSS, not LOST, loss mitigation. And ask for that department and see if you can get a specialist assigned to you to help you work something out with your mortgage. If you're if you're not protected by the CARES Act, if you don't want to file bankruptcy, if you cannot file bankruptcy, sometimes the mortgage companies will offer their own modification programs. They might have some type of workout. Oftentimes, USDA will have a forbearance program as well. They don't offer modifications. Once you do the mortgage, that's it. But contact them and see what they will do. Make your offer. Communication is key. Also, write down your bills or pull your credit report. Let me tell you this: you can go to annualcreditreport.com and pull a free credit report. It's free every year, July 1st. and you can pull all three. I still people don't pull all three at one time, so you want to keep one for later on to check. But um, annualcreditreport.com and pull it and see what you owe. A lot of people don't know. They're surprised when we pull the credit report and go like, "Who is that? Or what is that for?" Etc.
Right, right.
And so be up to date on what's going on with yourself.
Yeah, I think that's just a good rule of thumb to just pull your credit report to find out, because like you said, there may be mistakes on there, things you don't even know about. And you know what, I'll tell you, Eddie, I pulled mine last week, and when I came up on the free credit report website,
Yeah.
they're offering free credit reports from all three every month through the pandemic.
Oh, fantastic. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so you can pull a free credit report on all three. Was it Equifax, TransUnion, and what's the third one? Equifax, TransUnion, and I can't remember the third one.
Experian,
Equifax, and TransUnion. You can get all three credit reports free every month throughout the pandemic. So you can do that. The other thing I want to talk to you about, Eddie, is that the high incidence of mortality rate that this pandemic is lashing out, particularly in the Black and Brown communities. You know, we are a small percentage of those who are contracting it, but a high percentage of those who are dying from it. And I know that you also help people with their wills.
That's
so right. And you know, I just know, and you know, that this is a hard subject to talk about in our community. People don't want to not only think about dying, they don't want to, they feel like if I'm talking about my will, that you know, like you almost bringing it on if you're talking about your will,
like
you know. But this is also this brings such tension and such stress to a family when nobody knows what Big Mama wants to do with her jewelry. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Or all of it, any of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So can you help us with that? And some people even say, I don't have anything.
Right.
So I don't need a will.
And they may not need a will. It's almost the same. It's according to your situation, but we do suggest you have something in place. It could be a will, or it could be that you have made arrangements outside of a will to take care of things for yourself. So the will does say to the world what you want, and that helps everybody so that they can have, you know, people can sort of take care of your wishes and move along as well. So people should execute a will. It's probably the cheapest thing you ever get in a law office. And it's the best investment, because if you don't and you end up into a probate, especially a contested one, it's just thousands of dollars and basically whittle away the actual estate. There's maybe nothing left for anybody to get by the time there's, you know, if there's a contest, you spend those $300 on getting a will done. I mean, that's an investment. It's all cleared, it's all set up, and the court will, you know, do what they can to be sure that your wishes are followed.
Right.
The other thing is something my mother did. My mom was very astute. She was a school teacher and she taught me a lot. But she left basically, whenever she set up her bank account, she had a payable on death instruction with the bank. That way, if you have a bank account, and let's say you don't leave instructions as to where the money goes with the bank, it will go into your estate. Nobody can get access to it until probate estate is open. There's some court documents, so that money's sitting there, is stuck. You can't use it, can't do anything with it. If it's payable on death, all you have to do is present the death certificate, and ID, and the bank should issue those funds. So sometimes we talk to people about everything doesn't have to go through a will, doesn't have to go to probate. Some people set up trust. I don't really do trust right now. I do refer folks to somebody who's really an expert in that, because it requires a lot of stand on top of tax. All that enough to do already. So, but basically, you know, you can do the payable on death with your bank to say where that money goes to something would happen to you. People can transfer property now instead of waiting until that day. Some people keep what they call a life estate in themselves. Say, you know what? I'm going to transfer in a deed the remainder interest of this property to you, but I get to keep it for my whole lifetime. So
Mm.
even upon that person's death, the property belongs to whoever has the remainder. So some people do that. So that's something that can be done to avoid probate. So um, when people do come in for a will consult, of course, right now we're doing everything telephonic or as best
Yeah.
distancing, but still people need to get that done. And unfortunately, I've had a lot of friends who've had family members who lost family members to COVID very suddenly. And so there was, of course, nobody knows when they're going to
Right.
die.
That's right.
So
That's
if
right.
you have the will in place, you know, when things are good, you don't have to worry about that day. So
Right.
that's investment.
Right. And people can go to your website, eddielanelaw.com, to schedule an appointment or a FaceTime or a phone appointment to talk about their will, Eddie.
Their contact information is there. We're actually almost getting ready to relaunch. We're rebuilding it, so it should
Okay.
be up and running fully next week. But you can get all the contact information from that website, and it'll tell you a little bit about what we do. Yes.
All right, or call 803-400-1181, 803-400-1181 if you want to set up appointment time to talk to Dr. Attorney Lane. Dr. Lane, that would be your husband, Attorney Lane, about the will. The other thing I wanted to mention is about a will. It may not necessarily, and do you agree with this, Eddie, not be what you want to give, but how you want your service to look. Is that something that would go into a will, or is that called a will? What is that called? Like I
Well,
want to wear my pink dress. You know what I mean? I want Sade to sing, or whatever,
um, well, we tell people things like that. Talk to your family, talk to them, and let them know. And my mom left a letter with her will, so
Okay.
things like that. So we knew certain things that she wanted. So you can do those things outside the letter. You don't have to leave every vase and every stem of crystal in the
Hmm.
will. You can sort of leave that out in a letter. But
Right.
just, I would say talk to your family, let them know, and let them know where the will is.
Yes. Yes.
So, because they say, well, I know mom did a will, or I know dad did a will, but I don't know what he did with it. If you have a lockbox, maybe have a trusted member of the family to be registered at the bank for access.
Hmm.
As a coach, tell them right then and there, but let them know. Tell somebody where the will is located so they can get it, because it does no good. But if a person does decease, you want to deposit their will with the probate court in the county where they lived. Uh,
Right.
in South Carolina, you cannot probate an estate after 10 years if you don't deposit that will and open an estate. So you just got a bunch of heirs property just floating around, and nobody knows what to do. A lot of people lose their property because of that.
Wow. 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 800 803 400 1181. That's Eddie Lane with eddielanelaw.com if you want more information on wills. Also, she does consumer law, disability, personal injury. And of course, we've been talking about foreclosures. You can certainly call or schedule an appointment at eddielanelaw.com for more information. Anything else, Eddie, that you can share with us as we leave?
I just like to also, for folks, a lot of people feel like they can't afford an attorney, and so they don't do anything. They just say, well, I can't afford a lawyer. Uh, Call and find out, because there are
Mm.
some resources out there. A lot of attorneys are willing to work with you. I don't know about a lot, but I am. But work with people, a lot. And then sometimes there are some things that, like I said, there are some resources that other people may be able to use. I do serve on the private attorney involvement panel with South Carolina Legal Services. And Legal Services provides, they don't charge any attorney's fees, but you get an attorney to help with certain matters. And foreclosure and evictions or some of those things that they will help with. So if their staff cannot handle it, they will send it out to a private attorney, and they will pay the attorney uh, a stipend type of pay through an agreement, and the client doesn't have to pay the attorney.
Mm.
They may have to pay some court costs and things like that, but they don't have to pay attorney's fees. So also, sometimes you get a free consultation if you get that foreclosure paper. There's a document on the front that says summons, and it gives you 30 days to file a response. Do not stick that document in the dresser drawer.
Right.
File even if you do it in your own little handwriting and a letter, you write a letter to the court and say, I object. I do not want my house foreclosed on. I want these people to prove that I owe this money. And you file it in the court and you send it to the attorney, whoever sent it to you, and you hurry up and get to a lawyer so you get your real answer filed. But you do something. You don't do
Nothing.
in
Yeah.
that 30-day period. You want to do something because you'll default and there's nothing you can do at the foreclosure hearing. They're going to have a foreclosure hearing, but you don't get to participate or defend yourself if you do not file an answer in court.
That's good. That's good information to know, Eddie, because a lot of times we will get something in the mail and we'll be so fearful about it that we won't do anything. You say at least respond and say, I object.
Something. But like I said, call to an attorney.
Yeah.
Like, listen, or you call legal services. Listen, can somebody help me file an answer to this? This is what I have. Like I said, a lot of times you can get free consultations for different places or whatever, but don't sit on it.
Yeah, that is good. That's good information. Thank you so much, Eddye Lane with Lane Law, 803-400-1181 or eddielanelaw.com. If you want more information, please continue to like and share out this post because there have been Eddie shared some great information that I'm sure you or someone in your family can use. 803-400-1181 or eddielanelaw.com. As always, I'd like to close with the reading from Jesus Calling, and it's so good today on May 7th. It says, it is May 7th, right? Yeah, May 7th. If you learn to trust me, really trust me with your whole being, then nothing can separate you from my peace. It says, everything you endure can be put to good use if you allow it to train you in trusting me. This is how you foil the works of evil, growing in grace through the very adversity that was meant to harm you. Joseph was a prime example of this divine reversal, declaring to his brothers, you meant evil against me, and God meant it for good. That could preach right there, but I'll keep reading. Do not fear what this day or any day may bring your way. Concentrate on trusting me and doing what needs to be done. Relax in my sovereignty, remembering that I go before you as well as with you into each day. Fear no evil, for I can bring good out of every situation that you will encounter. I can bring good, God says, out of every situation that you or I will encounter. All we have to do is trust in him. Please like and share and continue to post this out. Please follow me on my personal pages. You can't friend me anymore. I'm at my 5,000 limit, but please follow me and go to my professional pages, Tre Tailor, like that one, Tailor Made Productions, like that one, so that you can get more updates about coping with COVID. Tomorrow, we're going to do the show at 10 o'clock in the morning. We're going to talk with Dr. Baron Davis with Richland School District 2. Great. He's going to talk to us about what's happening as far as them celebrating their seniors and also how the new school year will work out. Next week on Monday, we'll talk to 5 hairdressers and barbers. They are up in arms. They feel like they're not being represented at the table when it comes to opening up the state, and they want to talk about why they feel like they should be open and how they are going to take steps, not only to try to open up, but to make it safe for everyone. We're also going to talk to Dr. Rosalind Artis next week. She's the president of Benedict College, and she's on the state COVID task force. She's going to tell us about Benedict College and what they've been talking about at those statewide meetings. And also James Bennett with First Citizens Bank. He's also on that COVID task force. He's going to talk to us next week also. All that and so much more coming up on Coping with COVID. Eddie, thank you again so much for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Tre. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. 400-1181, 803 area code, eddielanelaw.com. Thank you guys so much again for joining us on Coping with COVID. Take care, stay well, and remain blessed.
Amen. Goodbye.